So my partner Mike and I have sold over $100 million worth of residential real estate here in the Bay Area, primarily Alameda, because this is where we reside. And every time we're working with a new buyer, they're always surprised when we share with them some of the additional costs that they need to think about along with their home purchase and along with the down payment that they've been saving for. And so in this video, I want to share with you some of the main hidden fees that you need to think about when purchasing a home here in the Bay Area. We're going to focus on Alameda County, but this can extend to other areas of California as well. So as a brief overview, my name is Jay Coyne. I'm a Bay Area real estate agent and now house flipper, and we help people every single day, just like you, buy and sell homes here in Alameda in the Bay Area. So if you're thinking about making a purchase, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to help. All right, now let's get into the video. So the first hidden fee you got to think about is your city ordinances, mainly the sewer, lateral, and sidewalk ordinance. So every time you sell or purchase a home, the city of Alameda is going to require you to have a certificate of compliance for your sewer lateral, which is one of the drainage/plumbing systems that leads from your property to the public sewer line. Now, this is going to be regulated by EB-MUD, which is the water public company here in Alameda County. And they will inspect your sewer lateral and determine if it passes or does not. And if it does not pass, well, then you need to get a plumbing company to remediate the issues or replace it entirely. Now, this can cost roughly $2,000 to $10,000 depending on your property size and the geography of your property, how large or small your drainage system is, and how much work needs to be done. The seller will provide you a quote for the cost of this, and you can look up any property online on the sewer lateral EB-MUD website to determine what property has a certificate of compliance or not. And these certificates last about 10 to 20 years after they got repaired. If you do not have that certificate of compliance and you're not able to complete it by the close of escrow, well, then you will be required to do an extension. And this has a fee of $4,800 at the close of escrow, which will be reimbursed back to you once you pass and obtain your certificate and present it to the city and it gets recorded. Okay. Now, for the sidewalk ordinance, Alameda does not have this, but the city of Oakland and Berkeley do. And the sidewalk ordinance is a requirement for any homeowner who does not pass the sidewalk inspection to repair their sidewalk because it might be a trip hazard or safety issue, etc. The city of Oakland has been putting this cost onto homeowners because, well, frankly, they're unable to pay for and or regulate all of this themselves or remediate all of this themselves. So it is now a homeowner responsibility once they transfer the property. I guess they figure that all the equity people have built up over the years, they can at least pay for repairing their own sidewalk. And so if the seller doesn't do it, again, this will be something that a buyer is deferred to a buyer and the buyer will have to take care of. Same deal. There might be a quote. If not, then we'll get a quote for you for how much this costs. Hidden fee number 2 is your closing costs. Now, everyone might know that there are some closing costs associated with purchasing a property, but I want to break down for you what this will actually consist of and what you can expect to kind of pay with an example here. So the closing costs will be broken down into your lender fees, title and escrow fees, transfer taxes, city and county transfer tax, and potentially an HOA transfer fee if this is something, if you're buying a home within an HOA. So I'm pulling up an example sheet here and I'm just going to share with you some costs. Your lender fees is really just going to be dependent upon your lender. And this is something that you've got to inquire about to your own lender. But I've got an example of $1 million property that I helped someone purchase here, and they went 20% down. And so their lender fee broke it into your origination and processing fee, which came out to $500 origination fee, $1,200 processing fee, $650 appraisal, because once you get a loan, they will require you to get the home appraised, about $150 credit report fee. So all of that came out to about $2,000. Now, your title and escrow charges are all really going to be pretty competitive depending on whichever title company you go to. But the title company is the third party handling the transaction, the one providing the statement, and the one that are receiving all of these funds before they disperse it out. So you need a title and escrow company for sure. Now, this can amount to courier fees, escrow fees, and lender's title insurance, recording fees, and owner's title insurance. So owner's title insurance is $1,200. Lender title insurance is $2,600. Courier fees, that's only $75. Escrow fee is $1,775. Okay. That adds up to roughly over $3,000 easily, close to $4,000. So actually almost close to $4,500. So it's a lot of money that is going to be added up. And let's continue. Transfer taxes. This is probably going to be the bulk of your cost. Alameda transfer tax has a $12 for every $1,000 worth of purchase price. So we took the $1 million, divided it by 1,000, and then multiplied that by 12, which comes out to about $12,000 here. Now, each city's got their own formula for how much the city transfer tax is. Alameda just so happens to be $12 for every $1,000 worth of purchase price, but each city has a different cost, and I can share that with you. However, when buying or selling a property, there are customary ways of assigning who pays what, and it's commonplace for the buyer and seller to split the cost 50-50 for the city transfer tax. Again, every county is going to be different. This is just how it is in our county. And all of this, again, is negotiable, but this is just customary. So what my client paid here was 50% of that $12,000, which equated to $6,000 for city transfer tax. There's also a county transfer tax, which equates to $1.10 for every $1,000 worth of purchase price. But this is a seller cost if they don't renegotiate it. Okay. So my client did not have to pay them. So in total, after prorated county taxes, etc., and all of their closing costs, we tell our clients roughly to estimate about 2% of their purchase price towards, closing costs. And so what my client paid here after their down payment was about $20,000 for closing costs. Okay. So on top of your down payment, definitely got to consider these additional funds. And this is probably your most costly bulk payment here that you got to think about. Okay. So tip number 3 is Mello-Roos special assessment tax. Now, the Mello-Roos is a special assessment tax in California that is used to finance public infrastructure and services. So when building new construction properties, the developer is usually going to defer and put the tax on the new homeowners that are purchasing within that new development. And these taxes are used to fund a variety of projects such as the new schools in the area, parks and recs services, streets and sidewalks that they redevelop, water sewer systems, police and fire protection services, etc. So all of this additional stuff that, since they're bringing in a lot of new residents into the area, where they got to fund all of these services, and they put that on the homeowner. So if you're thinking about buying a new construction property, well, on top of the likely HOA that this new construction is going to have, well, there's going to be a Mello-Roos payment on top of that. And we've got that here in Alameda for a lot of the new constructions over on the west end of the island. We can find this information in the preliminary title report of how much that Mello-Roos payment is. So this is something that I will share with you on the case-by-case basis. I know one of our Tri Point Homes developments has a 0.75% special assessment tax already on top of their hefty HOA. So 0.75% of the purchase price is, or the appraised value, etc., is a lot of money every year, and it's quite costly. Okay, so definitely something that you need to consider. Okay, number 4, the hidden fee you got to think about is inspections. Now, here in the Bay Area, it's very likely that your inspections will be provided to you by the seller. Okay, the seller does the inspections up front. However, in the pest report, there might be a time when the pest company calls out, which is called stucco test holes. So if you're buying a property with stucco exterior, well, it's very likely that you might need to perform test drill holes in order to determine if there is underlying damage or wood rot behind the stucco. Okay, this is only determined after you drill holes in the stucco and can look inside of it. Sometimes sellers don't do this, but with our homework, we're going to determine if this does need to be done and how much that's going to cost and how much damage behind there. Well, that is absolutely a hidden fee that we don't know yet until we investigate. And even after we investigate that, if there is some damage, well, we can't always determine the extent of damage until we actually get behind there and start working on the property. And when I say we, I mean the pest company, not me. Okay. But so there can always be more damage that is discovered later in the process. And so when we're taking a look at these quotes, we definitely need to take them with a grain of salt and potentially estimate more or less depending on the severity of what we're seeing at that moment. Okay. Along with inspection, some of the other hidden stuff you got to think about is the general home inspection might say that the furnace, water heater, and or roof is at the end of its life expectancy. And even if it's in okay shape right now, you as a homeowner need to think about maintenance costs, and you might need to do some right away, or you might be able to defer some stuff. But all of that is a hidden fee as well in itself. And we can always help you get quotes to determine what needs to be done now or later. So the hidden fee number 5 is knob and tube wiring. And this kind of relates to the last point about inspections, is that the inspections will let you know if your property has knob and tube wiring inside the home. And knob and tube wiring is an old electrical system that is extremely outdated now. It does still work, but insurance companies are jacking up their premiums for coverage if your home has knob and tube wiring because it is a safety and fire hazard. Okay, so when we're thinking about purchasing a home, especially in Alameda, when the homes are very old here, 1900s, early 1900s, even 1800s, it's very likely you might have knob and tube wiring, and we have to remediate this. So there's going to be a cost for that, which is rewiring your property to the extent, again, we'll get quotes. But the hidden fees are the patching and painting that is also going to be required, and or updating your entire breaker or electrical panel. Okay, so you got to think about all of this stuff. And it's not just I just need to change out my wires. No, they're going to be drilling holes into your drywall, and we've got to patch and fix all of that. Okay. So yes, these costs are continuing to add up, but don't worry, we'll help you understand the full scope of this. And so knob and tube wiring is definitely something you need to take into consideration and determine if you would like to remediate that now or at a later time if you plan to do remodeling in the future. But like I said, insurance companies make it difficult for you to get coverage or make the premium a lot higher if you have this. So it has certainly been an issue for homeowners here in the Bay Area. So for the last hidden fee that I want to share with you is not going to relate to everybody, but this is sort of a tricky one, and it's the appraisal gap coverage. It's not necessarily hidden, but if you come across this, well, it can be costly. So I just want to share with you what the appraisal gap coverage would be if you are in this sticky situation. So when you get a loan, your lender is offering you, let's just say for an example, 80% of the purchase price. However, it's not actually 80% that they're lending you on the purchase price. It's 80% of the appraised value on the property. And let's say you're buying a home for $1 million, but your appraisal comes in at $900,000. Well, your lender is only going to lend you 80% of $900,000. Okay, not $1 million. So that delta between the 900 and the 1 million, well, this is something that you are going to have to make up yourself, whether it's cash, getting the home reappraised, and that could be another fee, appraisal fee, or backing out of the contract, right? So this is why an appraisal contingency is so important if you think you might be offering more than the expected market value of the property, maybe in a competitive situation. Because the appraisal contingency protects you and your earnest money deposit from this exact situation and allows you to back out or create leverage to renegotiate your contract and purchase price. So if you don't have that appraisal contingency, well, yeah, you're going to be stuck in this situation where you have to make up this gap somehow or lose your deposit if you do back out. So definitely something to think about. Very, very important. And I hope you are never in that situation. But there you go. These are some of the main hidden fees, and there may be more. There may be less depending on the home you purchase and the situation you're in, etc. But when working with us, we're going to share with you the hard numbers so that you can calculate and do your budgeting with the numbers in hand. Okay, we'll also provide you the net sheet statement so that you know the total of your closing costs at the end of the day, and it'll all be written out in front of you. So if you've been thinking about purchasing or selling a home here in the Bay Area, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help. And if you like this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We help people every single day, just like you, buy and sell, and we would love to help you as well. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to have a lot more informational videos like this coming up soon, and I will see you on the next video. Take care.